Okay, so this video is on winding a bobbin, threading, and operating this Janome One-Step. So the first thing you want to do is put a spool of thread on there, and you put a cap on the end so the spool goes horizontal. Then you put the cap on. If you're using a larger spool, then you use this cap in the front and just put the other one on the back or something. But it holds the spool. The next thing you want to do is make sure that you take the thread from the spool and just go around this little piece here. It's a spring-loaded tensioner, so it puts a little tension on the thread. Then what I do is I take the thread and I just give it a little twist, and so it's kind of stiff, or you can just cut the end. And then you take a bobbin. Each bobbin has a hole in the top on each side, and you just go from the inside of the bobbin out of the top of that hole like that, and then pull the thread through so that now you have the thread coming into the inside of the bobbin and out of the top. And then you place it on the bobbin winder right there, and then push the bobbin winder to the right. And then the other thing you want to do is pull this hand wheel out. When you pull it out, it disengages the needle from going up and down when you wind the bobbin. So then take your thread and just wrap it around your, so you hold on to it. And then just let her go, and it will wind the bobbin. And then eventually it will break off if you hold on to it, or you can just take your scissors and snip it off really close to the bobbin, very close. And then you can wind as much thread as you want on there. And we'll go with that. So when it's finished, you just push the bobbin over, push the hand wheel back in so the needle will go up and down. And then we'll cut the thread. Then you just lift up the bobbin and drop it into the bobbin holder. And we'll do that right now. So the bobbin holder, you flip this cover over, just push this thing to the right, and this little cover clips off, and it shows you how to put the bobbin in with the thread on the bobbin going this direction and then through the tensioner. And how you do that is you turn it over so that the thread's coming off this side like it shows, then drop it into the bobbin case, and there's a little slot right there that you need to, that slot is right there, and then it goes around and comes out of this other slot. So what you do is you get it in this position, and then you just hook the thread in that little hook there and bring it around, and it'll automatically go into that little slot there like that, just like it shows on the bobbin cover. So once you got it in there with the thread facing to the back like that, you can just hook this little thing back in, this cover, and snap it back into place. And at this point, this is where we want to thread the machine. So I'm gonna show you how to thread this machine from the beginning. So what we want to do here is, beginning on the top, one thing to always to make sure of with any sewing machine is the take-up lever. That's this lever here and another thing is you always only want to turn the hand wheel in this direction, in the direction that it turns when you sew. Never turn it backward. Always turn it in this direction. And as you sew, as you turn it, the needle goes up and down. But more importantly, or just as importantly, this take-up lever, it goes up and down also. So this take-up lever goes down like this and back up. When it gets to the top, it goes back down. So whenever you thread the machine, start the machine or stop a seam, this take-up lever needs to be in this position all the way up at the very top, or maybe just a hair before. But it needs to be in that upper position right there. And you can see it when you have the cover closed. It's way up on the top here. So what we want to do now is to thread the machine. And how we're going to do that is pretty simple. Let me get my camera facing again. Okay, here we go. So we're going to take the thread from the spool. We're going to go underneath this back piece. So we're just going to hook it underneath there. It'll automatically go where it needs to go. Go straight down in this slot here. And then we're going to go around this piece here. And you can see that there's a number 2, and it's like it makes a U-turn there. So we take our thread and just go around that little, whoops, I didn't get it in there. Around there like that. We're going to go back up, and then we're going to go from the right and hook it into that hook, and make sure you give it a little pull, and it'll click into place just like that. Then we go back down through the slot like that. Then there's a little guide that is right above the needle. It's this little guide right here. You can either go on the left side or the right side. And so what you do is you take the thread and you just hook it into that guide like this. And then we're going to thread the needle. And the needle threads from the front to the back. So I'm going to go ahead and thread that. I'm going to clip the thread so it has a nice blunt edge. And if you touch the end of the thread, it'll begin to unravel and it'll be hard to thread the needle. So make sure that you have a blunt edge. And let's see if I can get this with the camera in the way. There we go. Threaded it from the front to the back. And then you just hold on to the thread. You can put it down if you want, but you can just hold it and make one rotation of the hand wheel until the take-up lever comes back. So you turn it and the needle will come up, but when the needle gets to the top, keep going until this take-up lever on the top gets to the top. And once it just glance up on the top, and you'll see that the take-up lever is back up on the top. And at that point, you can just pull, and it will pull your bobbin thread up. And you can grab it and put both threads underneath the foot and face them to the back, like that. And then pull a little bit so there's no slack in either the upper or the lower threads. And you're ready to sew. So then over here you want to decide which stitch you want to do. If you want to do any of these stitches, you just turn the pattern selector to that stitch. So stitch number 2 is just a straight stitch, and you can see that little line is in the center of that oval. That oval is the opening of the needle plate where the needle goes through. So in number 2, the straight stitch is in the center of the needle plate, so it's in center needle position. And if you turn it to 3, it's a straight stitch, but it moves the needle over to the left side of the needle plate. Like you can see right now, it's onto the left. If I turn it to stitch 2, it moves it into the center. And then you can also select, various sizes, widths of the zigzag, those 3 widths of the zigzag. And then the other thing that you need to do is change the stitch length. So a stitch 4 means it's going to be a 4 millimeter long stitch. It's going to be kind of long, almost like a basting stitch. If you go to a 3, it will shorten the stitch to a 3 millimeter long until you get all the way to 0, and then the machine will not feed. It'll just stitch in one place. So 1 is going to be a tiny, tiny, tiny little stitch, very, very narrow. But so normal is about 2.5, somewhere between a little over 2, and between 2 and 3 is a normal stitch length for most people sewing. Also, if you slide this cover off, inside is a bag, and there's a bag of parts and extra bobbins and stuff that has everything that you need in there. But this video is just on to get you with the basics. Oh, and the other thing is the tensioner. This is the sewing machine tensioner, and the tension goes from 0, which is no tension, all the way up to 9, which is a lot of tension. And there are times when you move that, but for the most part, you'll notice that 7, 6, when you get to 5, the number has a square around it. 3, 4, and 5 have a square around it, and then it goes back. So that means the normal tension range is going to be somewhere around 4 or 5, something like that, for normal stitching. And there'll be times when you move it, but again, that's a topic of another conversation. So anyway, that should help you get going, and enjoy sewing.